This is the Artist Entrepreneur Podcast. We are your hosts, Amanda Ritchie, Noah Dock, and me, Carrie Wee. We're three artists brought together by the love of circus and dance. Amanda from the world of Cirque du Soleil as an aerial soloist, Noah, our academic, and me from the commercial dance world. This is one of the greatest jobs in the world, but it comes with uncertainty. Each episode contains insight on how to pursue art-based businesses. We'll have a variety of guests and have lively weekly Discord. Tune in every week to hear our perspectives on the minefield that is the artist's way of life. So fun. Joe, I know you're really jealous of me right now.
Soup's jealous.
So when I first started teaching at the Loft, I don't know if you'd believe this, but I taught there 9 years total. So at the beginning of that for me, you'd already been teaching for a long time. And hi, Bean. You'd already been teaching for a long time, and I was like, oh, I just want to be like Joe. Because you'd been teaching for a long time, you'd figured it out, you have your own style. And then many years later...
My daddy has kids.
No, he doesn't. That's why I said, are you jealous? Because I was fighting with you. And many years later, you decided to take a job on the East Coast, leave our LA aerial community. And that's where I kind of lost the story. Could you please catch me up and tell the audience your name and add a little bit about the before times and then... give me a debrief on your life.
Okay, so quick rundown. I went to school as well. I graduated from college, but then really wanted to do circus. I just wanted that academic obligation out of the way. Gave it a shot, and that shot worked. I was very fortunate that it did because it got me to Montreal National Circus School. Once I finished that, I didn't start working consistently right away. It took me like a year and a half to find like my footing. And once I did, it was pretty good. Like worked with Elwaz. That was my first major show. I did a show called Nebbia. And then after that, I moved to Berlin to be a part of the show called Soap. And then was part of a new show called Versus. So I was in Germany on and off for a bit. Then I got asked to be like the resident director or production manager or whatever of this set of shows that was on a cruise ship that was opening up. It's a really fancy ship too. And I did that 2 summers in a row. So that was my first like leadership position and not concentrating on performing. All the while, every time going back to LA coaching. Because I would have breaks between contracts and I'd just go back home and coach in the meantime. And then soon after doing all that on the ship, I decided to pursue the show that I wrote. I wrote a show in like 2011 and never really expected much to come out of it. But then in 2015, I was like, all right, let's try this. And, I was lucky to be able to pull something off. That premiered 2016. Then it did 2 festivals, one in 2017, one in 2019. But I did go to grad school in 2018 to get a master's in arts leadership because I wanted to prepare myself for my future. And also, I thought it was a degree that like taught me how to be a better producer. Arts leadership.
Was it?
No. What it was, but it was helpful in that it taught us like the ins and outs of like the arts nonprofit world, like the structure of it, how it functions, like comparing it to for-profit companies and what's the deal. So it was really enlightening. And did I get out of it what I wanted? Actually, yeah, because there were some like courses that I took doing that helped with production, and that was great. And then the pandemic happened, which just slammed the door on everything. But during that time, I was really fortunate that I was able to work. I continued to teach at the Loft, luckily. And then also I became the casting director. There were some projects in the Southern California area that needed acrobats. So somebody hooked me up with someone else. And I said, sure, I could do that. They liked the job that I did. So they asked me to cast the whole event. And that was like 60 people. I was like, I had never done anything on this scale, but if you trust me, sure, let's go. And so did that. It was a holiday event, so it was drive through. So really specific things. And then the director liked the work I did. He's like, "Can you assist me?" I'm like, "Sure." And then that ended, and they're like, "Would you mind like staying with the production? Because the production team can't, and we need a representative." I'm like, "Okay, sure." So all of a sudden, I'm like this boss of an event, and I didn't even know. And then I did 3 events with that company. So I got my bearings as a casting director. That was all contract work. And it came to a point where I was like, I don't know if I want to keep doing contract work. It's so unstable, and I kind of just want to not have to work for myself for a while. So I, under the advice of the general manager of the productions, she gave me the names of all these theaters in Washington, D.C., which were all nonprofit theaters, which is what I studied. And she's like, just go to their web pages, check their job sections and see if there are openings. I applied to one, didn't get it. I applied to the second one and I got it. I was like, whoa, this I did not expect that to happen. Because usually you need like a connection or something. Like you need to know somebody on this. I knew nobody. It was a cold application and I got the job. I was like, all right. So I became a casting director of this theater called Arena Stage, which, unbeknownst to me, because I'm a circus artist, is like the premier regional theater of the United States.
Oh.
Yeah.
So theater as in plays, not Broadway.
Plays and musicals. Yes.
Plays and musicals. Okay.
Yes. So regional, but it was the very, very first one, and it set up the model for regional theater. But, I don't come from theater strictly per se. We do a form of performing, but in terms of theater history, I'm not really cognizant of that. So when I would tell people, like my friends who were in theater, that was my job, they would not believe me at all. They thought it was a joke. I'm like, well, am I supposed to know something about this theater? They're like, you don't know about Arena Stage? I'm like, no, should I? And they're like, yeah. They would like not berate me, but be like, how do you not know anything about Arena Stage? I'm like, because I didn't do theater. Well, not like to that level,
Yeah. So how, pray tell, does Joe Pinzon of the circus world get hired on to casting director, right?
Mm-hmm.
To cast a theater situation, like a big theater situation.
A big theater situation. Well, I was pretty convincing apparently.
Well, they were convinced. So what were they thinking?
They were convinced mainly because I did some really unconventional things that I don't even think certain casting directors who work in theater would be able to know how to do. And that's not to say that, I figured it. Well, I mean, not to say that I'm better, but I figured it out. And one thing that I could trust was my judgment and my taste. And I think that
that's a big deal.
It
Trust
is.
your taste.
And the director that I worked with, his name is Vance, and he was fantastic. And he said, Joe, 90% of a production success is dependent on casting. And I'm like, oh, I'm aware of that. And because in circus it's the same, but in theater it's even more important. In film it's even more important. It's like whoever you pick it makes or breaks. So there's a lot of responsibility that goes with it. But what I did was I just trusted what I know. Like I'm like it's acting and singing and dancing.
I feel like that sentence is the sauce. And you don't get there until slightly later. Like, how could you be there in your 20s? Because you have to go through all the things to trust your taste. Can you just like start fleshing that out, like what that means to you?
Well, I was really into things that were just visually appealing to me when I was younger. So like fashion was a big influence, honestly. And I worked in a store in West Hollywood. It was a paper store where, we, for our jobs, we were professional gift wrappers pretty much, but we worked with such high-end luxurious material that I developed my taste there in terms of like color and pattern and shape and design, and that I kind of translated into how I saw things, including how I dressed and what kind of people I was interested in being around. And so that tended to get me into places that seemed like the right path. And so I just followed that. And at a certain point you just have to come to the realization like, oh, I guess I am an artist. I don't know about you, but it kind of feels corny to say it sometimes. Like I'm an artist by profession. It sounds a little like so, I don't know. That's just me. That's just me. But so once I'm in the art world, I'm like, well, I should like bone up on things. So there I am, like watching opera. There I am watching a bunch of theater. I'm watching fashion shows. I'm watching like concerts on YouTube just to like develop my sense of what I like. Because everyone likes different things, right? Someone's taste is not going to be someone else's. I'm just also very fortunate that having been raised in Los Angeles, I was exposed to a very popular taste, because that's the city. It's what's trend, and so I'm able to spot that quickly. So over the years, like I remember in circus school, like the music that I picked, the costuming, the look, my style of movement, it seemed to work in a way that was coherent with who I thought I was and what I was comfortable with and what I like. Because ultimately it's an expression of yourself, and it's all like you said. How do you know yourself when you're at 20? You don't. But what you can start learning is what you like, and not only that, learning why you like it. Because then you're able to break it down. Like, I like it because of the shape. I like it because of the sound it makes, and that calms me down or something. So once you start liking what you like and just going with that, everything kind of starts to make sense about the projects you're attracted to, the people you like working with, how you like to design things, how you see productions. Like, I don't know if you've gotten to this point, but when I watch a show, it's hard for me to like enjoy a show because there I am like breaking down all the production elements.
What seems to happen, what I'm seeing happen with people is that people like you, they start to get hired because of their taste, because you can curate, and people love to be able to trust somebody to curate something. It's the sauce. So what would you say to a listener out there who is not there yet in how they perceive art, in what they're looking at? Do they know that something's good? How does somebody cultivate that, in your opinion?
Well, you can listen to a lot of other people, but then you're listening to a lot of other people. Like, the other day I went to the museum because like it's just down the street and it's the Smithsonian. So I'm like, oh, I'll just go, whatever. I'm like, how spoiled am I? And I wasn't expecting to. And when I walked through it, I didn't feel obligated to stop at everything. Because I can easily appreciate something. I'll walk by it. I appreciate the technique, the thought that went into it, the composition. But sometimes it doesn't draw me in. It's like I respect it, I appreciate it, but it doesn't talk to me. It doesn't say like what the thing is. Like, I'll read the description, and sometimes that doesn't match with how I'm feeling, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm glad that they intended that. But then the stuff that makes me stop, I tend to keep track of what makes me stop. Like, why this one? Why not this masterpiece over here? It's like, well, because the masterpiece, like, we all get it, but this thing over here, it's a little bit more subtle. There's less noise in it. I like the simplicity. So, like, those kinds of adjectives that I start to use to describe those things is kind of my aesthetic. It's sleeker. There's less distraction. And so when you are able to break down the elements of why you like something, even like your musical taste, like everyone likes what they like, but do they know why they like what they like? I think it's worth taking the time to just figure that out, because that'll give you an insight into a lot of other things about yourself. And the better you know yourself, the better you can trust yourself. Like, it's not like it's not like I think so highly of my taste. It's more like my taste has been verified across um, periods of time, and it seems to be consistent. So I have to believe it because it's been told to me enough times. So I'm like, okay, then maybe I should start trusting myself. And once I did that, that's when I felt that I was on the right path. Because it's like, okay, I have a point of view. I know how to like look for things that I like. I know how to feel, and I know what inspires me and why it inspires me. And I'm able to dissect that to put together my view of it. And it's like nothing is super original. Everyone's inspired by someone else. That's not a novel idea. I think it's great to admit that because nobody's that awesome that they have the most original idea ever. But it's good to know what your sources are so that you know what you can refer to as well. Because sometimes you can get lost and you can totally be confused as to what you're doing and what you're looking for. And sometimes when you step back and go to those sources again, you will be reminded of those and it'll re-inform you or maybe inform you in a new way. But know what you like just by judging the reactions it gives you. Like we react to things differently. We all do. So it's worth it to pay attention to that when it comes around, especially if it's really strong, you know.
Yeah, if you have a really strong reaction. Joe, tell me what happened with Cirque du Soleil. How did that happen?
In my first year here in DC, I was actually hit up for interviews for Cirque du Soleil for an artistic direction position. And I actually got it. But I had just gotten here. Like it was my first year here. I just got my apartment. I bought all this furniture. I was dating someone. I kind of like blew up my life just 6 months prior. I was in
Yes.
no place to blow it up again. You know, like I wanted, like I came here for a reason. It was to like put feet down for a bit. So I told them, I'm very flattered. Like, thank you so much. I don't know if it's the right time because I'm I know what I want out of my life and I'm trying to take steps towards that. And so I just don't think it's the right time. And they understood. They said, if anything changes, just let us know. And then things changed. And so I let them know. And timing was incredible because a position had just opened up.
Mm.
And then my resume was just right there for them. So I went through some interviews and I got the position. I did not expect it. It went very quickly, to be quite honest, it went very fast. So I wasn't prepared mentally for something of this magnitude, especially with this company. Like it was unexpected, but so welcome. Like it felt like, oh, so, you know, because I stepped away from the circus one. That was not easy. Because it wasn't just a career, it was a community, it was a world, it was a way of like seeing things. And I stepped away from that to find some stability, and you know, I am grateful for that. But then this call back to this world, especially in a position that could provide stability, just seemed like, wow, how did the stars just align with this one? My God, I'd be dumb to not take it. So of course I took it, and it was great. It was one of the coolest jobs I've had. Like it's like, oh, so this is how it works.
Yeah, can you tell the audience what the show was, what your job was with the show, what it entailed?
Yeah, so I was the artistic director of a production called Bazaar. Bazaar was a smaller format of their big top shows, and it was designed to open up new markets. So it would be like the show Soleil would send out to places they've never been before just to test how it could go. Um, and you know, it found success, and you know, they were trying a new business model because so many things have happened in the world, and they wanted to test something out. And so they put the show down in the Canary Islands with a set period of time just to see and like
Wait, that's not where you were doing your work, was it?
Mhm.
You got to go to the Canary Islands for however long, for a couple months?
Yeah.
Oh, see,
I know.
so lucky.
I know, but here's the thing, y'all. You know, so like sometimes we can talk all this stuff, but people realize we're there for work. So,
I
you
know.
know, it's
Yeah.
not like I'm living it up. I mean, some of them could because of their scheduling, but I had really long hours. So
Yeah.
I would enjoy like the beach once every 2 weeks, you know?
Right.
Because I'm just working, and when I'm not working, I'm just recovering from work. But it was a really really great job. It was something that I could couldn't have imagined asking for. Was very grateful and very fortunate to have been selected. I'm sincere in saying that I am very, very happy to have had that job.
I'm really curious, like, what were the nuts and the bolts of that job? And do you feel like you had every skill set you needed for that job? Or did you feel like you were learning a lot on the job?
Um, well, my responsibilities were I was part of like the show quality department. So it was to make sure that the show kept in line with the concept that it was built upon and that it, was up to the standard that the company sets for itself and was working towards the goal the company wants for it. So just making sure that thing worked. And the hardest part for me was learning the company. Like the job itself, I'm used to. I'm used to talking with performers. I'm used to directing. I'm used to fixing lighting and, giving notes and all that. Being a therapist in many ways. But that's all stuff I'm pretty accustomed to. Uh, the company itself is the hardest part to learn because it's just so big. There's so much to it. And yeah, that's why it's like when I finally got there, I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting it to be like this. Like, because you just don't know until you're there, you just don't know what it is, and you realize, wow, it's a lot to learn. And and then once I got used to things, honestly, you're just got to be on the ball because anything can happen. And it's like when I was there, a lot of things happened that I did not expect, and very early on. And there I am having to navigate through it. But because I'm used to emergency and I'm used to like dealing with stuff on the fly, a little bit of panic set in, but you just do it because you have to. That's your job. And then, once I dealt with enough of that, I realized, okay, so I think I am suited for this because I feel like the choices I'm making are the right ones towards the goal. And then, I have my check-in with my boss every week just to make sure that we're working towards the thing. So I felt like I was doing the job, and that felt good. When you feel like you're equipped to carry out what you get hired for, it's very gratifying, you know? So I felt very lucky to have that feeling at that company at this point in my life. It felt great. And I really love the people there. Like when I got that placement on that production, everyone was like, "Oh my God, you're so lucky. Everyone there is so nice." And I'm like, "Okay, sure." And you hear things, and then it really didn't hit me until I got there. And oh yeah, everyone was great. Like everyone was so friendly, very welcoming, and like I felt comfortable there.
Joe, out of all the skills that you have and jobs that you have taken on over the years of freelancing, so casting, directing, coaching, performing, and there's probably like a longer list. What is your favorite and what do you think you are the most effective at?
Well, my favorite's performing. I mean, I
Oh,
don't.
okay. Still?
Well, I don't do it anymore because, like, well, here's the thing. I love what performing did for me. I
Mm,
love how it made me feel. I loved how it made me think. I loved the community it provided, the life that it afforded me. It was a dream, like wow, I had a dream as a kid and I got to live it. No one really gets to say that. It wasn't easy, but when you do the work and things work out, like wow, it's pretty phenomenal. And so there are certain experiences during my performing career that I will never forget because like who gets to have those? I'm so fortunate. The other stuff, I mean, I'm grateful to everything that I've done. I mean, most of it's more work oriented and feels more like work, whereas performing didn't feel like work. I mean, some days did, but
mm-hmm.
in general, it felt great to be a performer. And as the years went by, it kind of didn't. And it's not like it wasn't anything that happened in particular. It's more like you tend to notice that it just doesn't do it for you in the same way that it used to. It's not as fulfilling.
Yeah.
The stuff you got to put into it in order to do it, it requires a lot more of you, and that gets tiring. and you are just in a different place in your life, and you realize that life is short, and in order to have the life you want, you sometimes need to make some changes, and they're not easy. They never are. But I'm just grateful that I had that. And so, like, performing will always go down as the thing that I'm like the happiest about. Like I was talking with one of my friends last week, Mandy Orozco. She does silks, and she's currently getting her master's in psychology right now. But she's going to school, and we had some very frank conversation about how different it is after performing. There's no guidebook. Nobody tells you what to do. The transition out of being a full-time performer is very much not talked about, especially
Yeah.
in our
Oh,
field.
yeah.
And so it leaves a lot of people feeling really lost. It leaves a lot of people feeling really dejected and not great about themselves, because the thing that they prided themselves on, and did probably form their identity on, is gone. And so there's a huge loss of sense of self, and it's very uncomfortable, especially at the age that it happens. It's midlife
Yeah.
crisis
Oh,
101.
yeah.
But because we do something really specific, there's not a lot of post-career accounts of how to do things. Because there are some people who are still performing. There are some people who just do something completely different, not the arts at all. And it's not like what I did is a blueprint, but it's a path, you know? But it is the path that I hoped for myself. And because it's what I wanted for myself, I worked really hard to get it, and sacrificed a lot, because you can't get it without, putting in the work and giving stuff up. Uh, but, I'm most grateful to my performing career because it got me here. I learned so much. I met so many good people. I learned about like the world. And that is one thing I'm very thankful for. And like when I say I meet people here in DC who haven't had that same experience of traveling and being exposed to a lot of different things, and you see how they think, and you see how they see things, and sometimes you just want to shake them and be like, "There's more to this," like, but it's on their schedule. Like they got to learn it on their own time, because if they don't want to hear it, they don't want to hear it. They don't care. They're on their thing. They won't listen to you. They'll discount you. I mean, we were the same way, when people try to like tell us about life and stuff, and we don't want to, I'm going to do my thing. Well, I probably should have listened to some elders back in the day to have avoided some heartache. But, if I didn't go through it, I wouldn't know what I know now. And it's fine. We all come out of it how we need to, but we can't expect things to be handed to us. Like, this is something that we always have to do, is check ourselves. Like it's good to be proud of what we do. Like this whole humility thing that certain cultures instill in us. Like, I don't know about you, but I was taught to be humble about my achievements.
Joe, what's your nationality?
I'm
American,
Filipino.
but
I'm
Filipino American. Okay.
Yeah. And, so, keep your head down, but do well, but just do the thing. And so I did. But when I realized, especially in what we do, it doesn't get you anywhere, because there's other people talking themselves up to the right producers and the right people, and they're getting the jobs, and you might think they're not as good as you are, but they are working. And you're like, well, why am I like, who am I to think that I'm all that somebody's going to be like, you, like that happens at an audition. Great. But no one's going to like scout you. And if they do, wow, cool. But that never happens. Like, who do you think you are? You got to work for it.
Yeah, you got to put yourself out there to get the calls.
Like
yeah.
You got to put yourself out there. You have to do the work. Like, who do people really think they are? There's a sense of entitlement out there. I will let you know, not just in circus, but in performance in general. And it is like, wow, can't wait till the world smacks you across the face. But that's not going to be my job. But just you wait.
It'll be the world. Yeah,
it'll be the world. But that's one thing that was really cool about being a casting director here. Is I got a lot of actors come into the audition room. Of course, like they're all terrified of me because I'm the casting director. I'm like, yo, don't be afraid of me. I'm just like here to do my job. But I am technically the gatekeeper. But you see how people present themselves in quote unquote interview situation for the arts. Like they put themselves out there. They're being real vulnerable, and you see the comfort level that people have with themselves, and you see certain ways of mannerisms and behaviors and ticks. And it makes you think, well, where did that come from? Like, what happened in their life to make them react this way or have this way? Because then it affects their performance, you know? Because it's like there's something like certain actors will be like, I don't know if they've dealt with a certain thing in their life because it's preventing them from going that extra thing that they need to get there. But the ones who do get there, you see how assured they are. You see how, they know that they're confident in what they have. They know it might not be the best, but they're very solid in it, and then they get to work. And this is something that it was nice to have validation of that kind of way of thinking. It's like, oh, people in our field should do the same. Like, learn as much as you can, but know who you are, because that's when your good work comes out. Like circus artists, there's this kind of, I don't want to say misunderstanding, but it's not a clear cut across the board of people's understanding of what a circus artist is. And this might sound a little, I don't know, I don't want to say elitist, but maybe more informed, is that like artistry is artistry. Like, please express yourself. Like, say what you need to say through your discipline, through what you do. It's not just a bunch of moves, you know?
Right on.
It's not like, like when I was auditioning actors, I'm like, it's not just words. I would tell some of them, like I was able to speak to college students and high school students. I would tell them, like, the words are just a part of it. Your body's a whole other thing. Like, you're literally lying to us with words, but what can't lie is the body. And right now I'm seeing a lot of lies because the body's preventing, the body's holding you back. And us as circus artists, all we have is our body. So it's like, I want people, especially people meaning circus artists, I want them to really be the artists that they should be. Like, get out of their own way and thinking things have to be a certain way in order for it to work. Maybe there's formulas for certain people. Maybe that's their thing. Great. But at least be true to yourself. At least try to put something out there that makes people think or reflect or feel. Maybe not specifically to the thing that you're intending, but in some way. I mean, that's how we all got here, right? Like, we saw something that made us feel something, and it inspired us on this path. A lot of performers these days forget that that's their responsibility, is to do that for someone else. Like, we have such amazing lives. When you step on the stage, you don't know who's in the audience, because a life could completely change because of that one performance. Mine did.
Yeah, me too.
And so, and I had to tell that to the people at Bazaar. I'm like, my whole life changed because of watching one show one time. And that's what our responsibility is. It's not to have to do it perfectly every night. Like, yes, high standard, great. We like consistency. We like excellence. Perfection doesn't exist. But you have to make them feel something, or you have to make them think something, so that they see things a different way, so that they understand what life is more, so they can figure out what theirs is, because they don't know, or they think they know, and then all of a sudden it could be a lie to them. But our job is to help people see more, to make them know more, to make them feel more. It's not just moves. Like, moves are boring.
Yeah.
Like it's
so easy. It's easy and boring.
It's easy, and there is this like one-upmanship in terms of technique. Like, social media has done this, where somebody is inspired by something because you see everything's out there now, and they want to do one better. Because everyone wants to one up. And sometimes it's like that's fine, but if that's always the goal, it's gonna get real tired and you're gonna hurt yourself, to be honest. Why don't you just like be good and say something?
Yeah, that's not necessarily rewarded nowadays, but that's the juice right there for sure. Yeah. Like,
it's like, why don't you trust? Like, honestly, like I'll put this out there because I have been a casting director, and this is true. For professionalism, there is a certain level, and you must meet that, but that is the minimum. Whether it be technique, whether it be an understanding of artistry, whatever it is, there is a base level. But once you get there, you have to reset yourself to zero, because guess what? A lot of people are there. So what makes you stick out is who you are. It's not your technique. Everyone has the same technique.
Yes.
So like, what makes you more valuable as an artist is you. Like your understanding of the world, your experience, how you see it, how you want it to be. Go do that. Like you have the opportunity. It's called a stage. It's called a performance. Why don't you go tell the world how you see things? Why don't you go tell the world who you are and how you like, why not? That's literally your job. So go do it. But don't think that moves are enough.
I miss you, and it always blows me away when somebody like you or somebody like you is in like a place in DC completely, they don't know who's there because you're not in their world.
No.
But this podcast is in our world, and I think there's going to be a lot of listeners who value this coming from you, because I also talk about it. But, you're a peer of mine. We all have a different way of expressing what we think is all of this, like what the juice is, what the sauce is, the most important thing that makes us who we are. And we all have a kind of a different outlook on it and different way of communicating it. And sometimes you need to hear it from different voices.
Yeah. You do. And like we didn't have that in the circus world in my generation. There wasn't too much contemporary circus beforehand and experience of several things, making a company, going out there, promoting yourself in different countries. Like it wasn't like, oh my God, let me tell you, YouTube did not exist until 2005 when I graduated circus school. And that's how I got my work, was by putting my act on YouTube. But beforehand, we used to have to burn DVDs and mail them to people. Like, and does that make me sound like a dinosaur? It sure does. But guess what? I know it. I know how hard that was. And so to see the tools that everyone has now. So like, and you have also seen the emergence of circus and aerial as a fitness thing. And, that's cool and all that. But there's another thing that I have. It's like people who take 2 classes and all of a sudden think they can perform. And I'm like, people have to realize that's like Zumba versus ABT. Like, don't think you can go to Zumba and then be on that stage. Like that's not how this works. I got to put a smackdown on something. It's like, because I respect my art. I cannot have things not at the level I think they should be talking for us. I don't accept that. I work too hard, and the people that I know work too hard for certain things out there to be representative of what we do. And I will say that. I'll leave you with this. Like one thing I did tell Mandy is the reason why I'm so dedicated to this art form and by the work that I'm hoping to still do is because this means a lot more than just the job itself. It is a world. It is a community. And, it's a community that supports itself, because oftentimes we don't find the support in systems that we thought we should or that we expected from. And so for many, this is what we know, because this is where we discovered who we are and how to be who we are. And that's not to say that, other things weren't good or other things were bad. But, when you find the thing that helps you understand how you should be seeing the world, you value that because it informs everything. And this is what it was for me. Circus was this. I care about my community. I care about the people in generations above me, in mine, the ones coming up, because it gave me a really freaking fantastic life and an experience that I don't think anyone could ever ask for. And I want people to know you can have that. It's not easy, but nothing is. So go get what you think you should get and like have like the best life you can. Like, this is so fun. It should be fun. Yes, it's hard in the face of things that are so detrimental and so like not encouraging, but that doesn't dictate our like who we see ourselves as and how we navigate through this. It might put roadblocks, might make things a little difficult, but we decide who our lives are, what our lives are. So we should feel empowered to do that. And it's because of this line of work that I feel that way. And so I'm very grateful to it. And I want others to feel like they have that or have access to it. But they gotta work. Put that out there. They better meet the level.
Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find Amanda Ritchie at Grounded in Flight on Instagram. and add Noah Doc on Instagram as well as Red Flags app. And me, Carrie Wee, you can find at wrapyourheadaroundsilks.com. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. We have so much more coming at you, including guests that are in this art world, that are blazing their way through new businesses, and just more banter from us. Thank you for listening. This is The Artist Entrepreneur.